those cold starts never get old. What's going on, guys? Chris from AutoAcademics here, and I figured now would be a good time to, I guess, give you guys a little update on my 2022 Audi S5 Sportback. Now, you guys know that I've had it about 2 years now, or a little over 2 years. When I got it, it had about 22,000 miles on it. It now has just over 40,000 miles on it. No, I don't put a ton of miles on the car because I drive press vehicles a lot. But when I do drive it, I do like to take some trips and stuff. And so with this 40,000 miles that I've accrued on it, that also came time for the 40,000 mile service. So I've put just under 20,000 miles on it in 2 years. Not bad. And so I did have to get the 40,000 mile service done, which was maybe 2 months ago. And since then, I've only put maybe 1,000 miles on the car. But I just wanted to share some of that stuff with you. So the 40,000 mile service, it cost about $730. And let me get some notes here. They replaced the engine and oil filter. They did spark plugs, cabin air filter, fuel injector cleaning, and fuel and air induction cleaning service. And I also had them do an alignment on the car. So all that came to $730. Again, all of my standard maintenance has been included with this car so far. So this is literally the first maintenance that I've had to pay for. So that hasn't been too bad. And that's just something that Audi does with their new cars, or at least they used to do in 2022. I don't know if they still do it or not, but 2022, all maintenance was included for during the new car warranty period. So that's 4 years, 50,000 miles. So that Audi Care plan that my car came with, it is about to expire, I believe, next year. But and I will more than likely hit the time before I hit the mileage on it, but that's fine. I kind of assumed that, expected that when I bought the car. And so that was a service that I had done. But during that service, they also did let me know that I would need to get front brakes done as well. Again, these are performance cars. I have done some spirited mountain drives with my local Audi club, stuff like that. And so parts wear out a little faster than they do on other cars. So because of that, I did have to, my brakes did need to be redone, or at least the front brakes. And that was the rotors and pads. From day one, I was never that excited about the pads on this car just because they left a ton of dirt. And so what I did was I knew that when it was time to replace them, I was going to put something a little different. I said dirt, I meant dust, but I knew I wanted to put something different on, like some ceramic pads that would be a little less dusty with usage, because cleaning these wheels, while they're nice big spokes, it's still a pain in the neck to have to clean these wheels. So I wanted to get something that maybe would keep the dust down. So what I did, the dealership quoted me about $1,600. Sorry, the light. The dealership quoted me about $1,600 to replace my front brakes, the rotors and pads. So I looked around, I found a nice indie shop in my area that works on German performance cars. They do everything from Porsche to Lambos to all kinds of stuff, but they do specialize in German cars. And so I was like, well, if they can work on R8s, they can work on a lowly little S5. So brought it to them, and sure enough, we were able to get some nice drilled rotors on here, which I think looks pretty cool. They look great with the red calipers. And then I also got some ceramic pads put on there as well. That entire thing cost me about a little over $1,300. So, while it wasn't a ton cheaper, I was able to get what I feel is an upgrade. Even though these probably perform very similar to the OEM rotors and pads, they should give me a little less dust on the wheels, which is what I want, and they look freaking cool. The The stock rotors look more like this, where they're just the solid rotors. They're fine, they perform well, everything, but the drilled rotors just add that little extra performance look to it, so that the S5 doesn't come with. So that's why I wanted to do that. So so far with that, the dust seems to be less. Again, I haven't driven it a ton, and I admit that I haven't washed it a ton. She's clean now, but I hadn't washed her a ton because, one, I wasn't driving that much, so it stayed clean for a while. But then when it did get dirty, we had a ton of rain this year, both in the summertime and this fall and winter. So I figured, well, no need to wash it. So anyway, she's clean now, you know, not like super clean, but she's pretty clean. And the dust on the wheels has not been too bad. Oh, how do those brakes feel? That's right. They feel great. So, you know, one of my issues with my car when I got it that I complain about is that it has a soft brake pedal. It just feels squishy. They're strong. They slow the car down very well, but the pedal itself is just squishy. You know, you press on it, and I prefer a firmer pedal. I prefer a little more linearity with it when you press the pedal, you know, and you get some resistance back. And I mean, BMW is great at that. Their cars have lovely brake pedals, as well as some other stuff. But my car just didn't have that. So the ceramic pads give me a little bit of a firmer pedal. Now, again, it's not BMW feel, but it does feel better. It does feel much better than the OEM pads did when I got the car. And who knows? Again, when I got the car, it had 20,000 miles on it, so maybe the pads were just halfway through their life at that point anyway, and that's why they felt a little softer. I don't know, because I didn't have them from brand new. That's just stuff you deal with when you buy a used car. But with these new ceramics on, they definitely have a little bit more of a firmer feel. It feels better. So far, they still seem to stop well. I haven't done any mountain drives on it since I've had them. So I can't give you an exact comparison yet, but just for regular street driving, regular day-to-day, they do have a better feel for that. So we'll see. So yeah, so that's it for the brakes and the maintenance on the car. Besides that, the car has been flawless. Running well, everything's been great. But as you guys know, about a year ago to this day, as of time of this recording, about a year ago, I got a nail in my tire. And the bad part was that my tires were already wearing, even though they were brand new when I bought the car. So in a year's time, it was already time for me to replace those tires. So when I got the nail, that meant I had to replace the tires. There was no patching, there was no nothing. It was time to get new tires. And they came with a Continental Conti Sport, I forget the name of them now, but they were like rubber band tires. And if you guys want to see, I might put some B-roll up, but I mean, if you want to know all about it, I did videos on it last year when all this stuff happened. And also I show them, I highlight them in my review of this car when I first got it. But they were like rubber bands. They were super hard sidewalls. And if you hit the most minor of pothole or bump, I mean, it felt like you were going to snap your rim in half. So I knew I wanted some tires that had a little bit more meat on them. And I know I'm kind of repeating everything I've already talked about in another video. Long story short, I went with some Michelin Pilots all-season 4s. I had used them on my CTS wagon and loved them. And so I was like, well, you know what? They're great tires. I could put them on here. They've got a great performance rating, but they also have a good wear rating, as well as they're all seasons. So whereas the Continentals that came on this car were strictly summer tires, I knew that I wouldn't have to worry about the cold weather and the elements with these Michelins. I do live in Georgia, but it gets cold here, which is weird. I didn't think it did before I moved here, but it actually does get cold here. It even occasionally snows here. Not often, but we can get a snow, and we're about due. It's been about a year, about 2 or 3 years since we've had any snow, so we're about due. So anyway, that was all to say why I got those Michelin all seasons as of putting another pair of summer tires on here, and I wanted to give you guys an update on that as well, because they too have been holding out pretty well. Now again, the treadwear rating is much better. I believe the Continental's treadwear rating was about a 200, like 220 or something like that. Horrible. Again, after a year of driving, it was time for them to be replaced again. And those weren't cheap tires either. So these Michelins, they aren't cheap tires either, but they do have a much better treadwear rating. It's something like 540 or something like that. So you're getting double the life, more than double the lifespan. And I want to show you guys what that means. All right, if we take a look here, I don't know how well this is showing up. I don't know. Let me see. Let me get to the front here. Maybe this will show better. But if you look at that tread, that looks pretty freaking good, dude. You guys know that tread looks really good for that to be a year old, and that is still very nice. Not a ton of wear along the edges. I did go with a thicker sidewall. I went with a 275 30 series tire instead of the 265 that is OEM. So you can see the sidewall is definitely a little thicker. It fills in the wheel wells a little bit better, in my opinion. But you also get a little bit more compliant ride. Now, yes, if you're all about the hardcore, I know some of you guys out there are. If you're about the hardcore, if you track your car and just use it in more of a performance fashion than just daily driving like I do, then you're going to want a slightly more aggressive tire again. I don't need all of that. I wanted something that's going to stand the test of time a little bit better while giving me the performance, but also not worrying about driving on the streets with all the bumps and the cracks and the potholes and all that kind of stuff. And so this thicker sidewall definitely gives a little more cushioning to the ride. It's a little softer. It's not as edgy. Responsiveness, I noticed the change immediately. It's not as sharp. But that was a trade-off that I was willing to make to have a little bit better quality of life with these tires. So they're not as edgy, they're not as sharp, but they still handle decently. And they're better for year-round driving as well, especially just for regular commuter duty. So that's what I put on here. The thicker sidewall definitely absorbs bumps. The same potholes that I see almost every day, they don't have the same impact that they did with those Continentals. And, the Continentals were fine, but they didn't last, and I was worried about the damage, either blowing a tire or bending a rim. With these Michelins, I don't have those same concerns anymore. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, the ride's more comfortable. It's a little less noisy also. They're a little bit quieter than those Continentals were. Those you could kind of hear the road a bit, whereas these are a little bit quieter, which is strange because the Continentals are softer. These are harder tires, which is why they last longer, but they just work a little differently, wear better, and don't make quite the same noise. So yeah, let me see. Is there anything else that I wanted to share with you guys? No, that's about it. I'm not going to ramble too much. I want to try and keep this one fairly short. But I know you guys have been wondering how things have been going with the S5. I've been living with it daily. And again, while I don't necessarily drive it every single day, let me get it in frame here. There we go. While I don't necessarily drive it every single day, I do drive it, you know, weekly. That's what I transport my mountain bike on. I did a video on that, you know, if you guys want to see that, see how I do that, because this is my daily driver, so it needs to be able to do everything that I need to do. So yep, that mountain bike right there goes on the back of this, and I'll put links to all that stuff as well in case you guys are interested. But yeah, that's the S5, a little over 40,000 miles, and running great. Still love it. Still sounds great. And you know, I think it's been a good purchase. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. We put out videos all the time, at least one a week, where we do car reviews, we do new product launches. I've got some other things that I'm working on that hopefully I'll be able to bring to you guys earlier in 2026. Some other project type stuff, not necessarily the typical review stuff, but some other project stuff that I'm working on that still deals with the automotive industry. And so subscribe and hit that bell notification so you don't miss what we have coming up next. That's it. I don't know why I keep trying to think of other stuff to say, but that's it. Chris from AutoAcademics, happy holidays, and thanks for watching.